What's up, guys? Back with another video. This is a three-part series of Dan Aykroyd's interview in 2012 about UFOs and aliens. I had no idea at the time that Dan Aykroyd even knew anything about aliens and stuff, but apparently he's seen 4 UFOs in his time. So yeah, this video series will be on his particular interview with these guys. Link to the original video will be in the description. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe being the big one. You know, it all helps the channel grow, but the subscribes are what lets you get notified of the new videos, especially the new parts to this video. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
We have an unidentified flying object.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. The sighting over Washington yesterday has alarmed many of you. However, please, do not... We close?
Yeah, we're close.
2001 was a real space odyssey for me. Instead of flying on a spaceship to the moon, Jupiter, or beyond the solar system, I met Dan Aykroyd for the first time to talk about UFOs. That's when I knew I had to sit him down in front of a camera and just let him talk about the truth. Because if I didn't, no one would believe we had this amazing conversation. And one time I had this long conversation with Dan Aykroyd about UFOs, and I thought it was like Einstein was hiding inside of a comic genius, just so that if he told us the real truth, you wouldn't have to believe it. If Einstein had told us UFOs were real, would we have believed him? He never spoke about it. But Dan Aykroyd speaks about UFOs as if he were a full professor on the subject. So Dan, how did you get started in UFOs? What sparked your interest? What was the first thing that you can remember that happened to you that made you, ponder the question?
Well, I was born in July 1952. And I guess about maybe when I was 8 years old, I found a magazine, a Life magazine, with a picture of the UFOs from that sighting on the cover, with a big inquiry. What are these UFOs? And so that kind of started it as a kid, and I asked my parents about it, and they actually couldn't tell me what they were because they didn't know. They knew there was some mystery there. Then I saw The Day the Earth Stood Still as a kid, and I mean, that was a film that directly related to maybe some of the motives for visitations from other planets. And it certainly seems accurate today if you look at the way mankind in the last 100 years has basically started to turn this planet into a cinder. 3-4 holes in the ozone layer because of industrial production around the world, nuclear testing, wars. I'm just sure, just in theory, if there were another species in the universe monitoring us or near us, they would be very interested in what we're doing to this planet, to this planet's atmosphere, and to possibly neighboring bodies. So there would be a concern there. And I think that in terms of the extraterrestrial machines that are coming and going, that may be a part of their motivation.
We've just had a rash of sightings all over the planet, and we've got Iran and Turkey and Mexico. I mean, it seems like we're being invaded by UFOs. Let's talk first just about what's actually happening out there.
Well, recently, the most dynamic sighting that we've seen, because it's corroborated by an actual government, is the sighting that took place over Mexico recently, where drug surveillance twin-engine turboprop plane was at altitude, taking pictures of possible smuggling routes, and they photographed with their infrared cameras 11 unidentified objects. Some of them were in pairs and in threes, and of course, you know, these were objects that couldn't be seen by the naked eye, but were visible on the infrared cameras. Well, the United States Air Force, after the news appeared in America, and it was covered on CNN and Fox. The footage was shown on Fox. It was shown on CNN, and in the Valley Daily News on the front page had a big headline, UFOs with a question mark, and it had pictures from that sighting. And of course, the United States Air Force had to respond, and they said it was swamp gas. So I don't know whether swamp gas is not visible to the naked eye and visible on infrared, whether it comes in multiple balls, whether swamp gas is capable of doing a complete circuit around an aircraft and then taking off at high speed and right angles into the sky. If it is, then maybe it was swamp gas. But somehow this seems to be a legitimate one, because the Mexican government decided we want to release this to the world. And this follows on the heels of the Belgian general who revealed some F-15 footage years ago of his Air Force planes chasing objects that were exceeding them in speed by twice again what his planes were going at. The French government, over the last couple of years, has released a comprehensive study on the UFOs. The Soviets have been, since the 1950s, engaged in numerous studies about landings, abductions, and the sightings. So we do have legitimate government inquiry going on, and in fact, as anyone in the field knows, the United States government for years has been covering this issue because they were compelled to cover it, because of Ken Arnold's sighting, because of the sighting over Washington in July '52, just after I was born, the famous shot of the V-shaped lights over the Capitol and over the Coast Guard station. So the government initiated originally, I believe it was, there were Project Sign, Project Grudge, the Condon Report, Project Blue Book, and then they engaged J. Allen Hynek. So, the French, Belgian, Mexican, Iranian, and Turkish governments are not the only ones who address this issue. Our good old USA government has, in fact, seen the necessity to put people's fears or concerns at rest. And as anybody in the field knows, these studies went on, and these studies revealed that, most of the sightings could be explained through conventional means, as either hoaxes or weather climatic things, but many of the sightings were unexplained. And so therein is where lies the mystery in all of this.
Dan, what do you think is the significance of UFO technology? I mean, obviously, these guys, the extraterrestrials, can come from one star system to another and visit Earth. I mean, recent headlines on CNN are talking about, and BBC, that we're going to run out of oil in 2026. We've got to get on to a better technology. I mean, to be able to go from another star system to Earth, obviously they have the answer.
Well, the presence of these obviously intelligently controlled machines tells us that we are dealing with beings who have anywhere from 1,000 to 1 million to 10 million to 1 billion years advancement in technology on us. So you've got to figure that look what happened in the last 100 years. We have the Wright brothers at the turn of the century taking off in basically a fabric and wood aircraft. By 1969, we have lunar expeditions. In the year 2004, we have massive airplanes being built out of alloys and graphite, and this big ship that Airbus is building, the new Boeing plane. So in 100 years, from fabric and wood, we've come to, advanced metallurgy, fuel use, and propulsion in just 100 years. Imagine what a culture could accomplish in 1,000 years, or 10,000 years, or 1 million years, or 1 billion years. It's not inconceivable that you have intelligently manufactured and controlled machines that can not only traverse great distances in space by mastering gravity and the time-space continuum, but also the interdimensional travel that might be possible. Many theories now purport that there were not only 4 dimensions at the creation of the entire multiverse 14 billion years ago at the time of the Big Bang. There were 11, maybe as many as 21 dimensions. So some of these beings may be coming from an extra dimensional place. I mean, and you know what it says is that these technologies have been harnessed, and that it's possible to use other fuels that don't rely just on simple combustion. And you know, there are many theories. I mean, some theories are that the military already knows about these forms of propulsion and lighter than air vehicles or metals that can be vibrated to a certain point where they become light waves, photons. But they're not telling us. They're not going to reveal that, obviously, to us, and we just have to keep the search going. So I think that you know, it's incumbent on us as a race on this planet to begin to find alternatives to the fossil fuels, but we're just not doing it fast enough.
It's probably been the greatest and most successful cover-up in the history of the world. UFOs are as real as the airplanes that fly over your head. That is my unequivocal conclusion.
Oh my God.
The AKYROID story, Dan, I mean, you appeared in a movie about the AKYROID story. Canada broke the sound barrier. Diefenbaker dismantles the whole aerospace program in Canada, and all the engineers are hired by NASA and Boeing down here, and we finally break the sound barrier. But in Canada today, we have another scientist, Canadian scientist John Hutchison, is using wave induction, using Van de Graaff and Tesla coils and radio. On a 75-pound cannonball, we can see this huge cannonball levitating in the air. I mean, Boeing, NASA, Lockheed, all of these defense contractors are going up into his lab in Canada and trying to understand how this thing works, because the next person or the next country that figures out true anti-gravity propulsion systems is going to be king of aerospace on this planet.
The Hutchison effect incorporates radio frequencies, Tesla frequencies, and high electrostatic energy to create a type of levitation effect where it can move a 75-pound cannonball of steel or brass bushings, water, wood, and other objects into the air.
Are we doing enough in our universities, in our research labs? Are we putting enough money into this kind of a research? And what risks are we willing to take if universities in Beijing and China and Russia, they're actually going into the UFO phenomenon in their universities? But here in America, mainstream science, mainstream physicists laugh at the UFO phenomena. I mean, what do you think about that?
Budgets are tight all around the world, and as far as putting money into the study of alternative technologies, funding research by people like Hutchison, the money is just not there. I mean, if you look at NASA is getting chopped back because the funds that are flowing through government now are focused on the war in Iraq and other things. So we don't even have the money to keep up conventional space exploration, development of metallurgy, fuels, ion drive systems. So I don't see any government in the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years really putting the money into the kind of research that's needed to develop these alternative systems and to perhaps study what is driving these intelligent machines from somewhere else. Now, of course, that's on the visible side of things. We're hearing a lot about these special access programs where congressional money is approved by a very narrow slice of the membership in the legislature and given to the military to do basically carte blanche what they want with. So there could be a black military program that is producing what people are referring to now as the big black deltas, which are these huge black triangles that are being seen all around the world. The big black rectangles, which are also being seen all around the world. So maybe maybe they look a little like this. The F-117, they look a little like the B-2 bomber. Maybe these are special access programs that have been applied to alternative technology and energy and are really practically at work today. But I don't see them revealing, you know, these the sources of these programs nor their applications right now.
Okay, I worked in the U.S. space program for 36 years. I was a contractor employee, first working for McDonnell Douglas and then ending up working for Boeing after McDonnell Douglas was purchased by Boeing. I started at the end of the Mercury program and then worked the whole Gemini program. And during Gemini, I was responsible for the design of the equipment for the life support system. And so I had a distinct interest in keeping astronauts alive and having successful equipment. During the program, when we were flying the Gemini spacecraft, my interest in UFOs became very real. It became real because, first of all, Gemini 2, which was unmanned, it was rumored and talked about among our researchers that 2 UFOs had followed Gemini 2. And then Gemini 2, of course, recovered later. And I didn't think too much about that except, yeah, that's kind of funny. Very interesting stuff. And then when Gemini 4 flew, and its 4-day mission, 66 orbits, with James McDivitt and Ed White, about halfway through the mission, McDivitt said he has something up here with him.
Astronaut Gordon Cooper is an American hero with a log of over 222 hours of manned spaceflight. He had a long and illustrious career of service to his country. With over 11,000 hours of flight, he was a fighter pilot, U-2 test pilot in the Air Force, and is one of the first men to ever fly in space. He orbited the Earth 22 times in Phase 7, the last of the Mercury missions, on May 15th and 16th of 1963. On August 21st of 1965, he orbited the Earth again on Gemini 5 and remained a backup for Apollo 10.
Well, I've had some occasions to know some of the people who were involved in Roswell at one stage or the other. I think there's been an awful lot of untruths put out on Roswell and an awful lot of conjecture. I think there have been some truths in it. I think definitely there was something other than a weather balloon there. Very likely. I'd like to think they reversed engineered it and did something with it, you know, did some benefit with it, which would be the logical thing to do, but I have no way of knowing whether they did or not.
Within hours of the crash at Roswell, U.S. General...
So quickly pause it right there when he said about the reverse engineered Roswell 1947 craft. I have a video that's already up on YouTube that talks about that and also goes through some of their schematics and declassified documents on those particular projects. So yeah, it's in my description of my, like, if you go to my channel and then you look at the total videos, like, you'll see it there. It's like one of the most recent ones, like 3 videos before this one, maybe 2. But yeah, definitely check that out.
Nathan Twynham designated the visitors as enemy aliens. It appears from his book that Colonel Corso agreed with that assessment, and that it has remained as official U.S. policy ever since. At that time, however, it was an enemy, quote unquote, about which the U.S. could do nothing. because the visitors were so technologically superior. That led to the recommendation that the discovery be treated with the utmost secrecy, to the point that the crash at Roswell didn't happen and that UFOs don't exist. The rationale was that the ordinary public couldn't cope with the news and might easily panic.
Yeah, continue there. I just thought I'd add that is 100% true right there. What Paul Hellyer is saying. Most of the public can't handle the reality that aliens exist. Like, that's why they've covered it up since 1947, and it's been covered up for so long. But earlier in 2020, the Pentagon and US Navy both admitted that UFOs exist, and they even said they're not of this world on their descriptions of the craft that they were able to actually get their hands on, like crashed ones and stuff like that. Like, there's more than just Roswell. You know, there's craft that have crashed all around the world. Like, I could probably make a compilation. Actually, I'll probably do that for a future video. A compilation video of all the cases of crashed UFOs around, well, alien spacecraft. But they're not unidentified. We know they're alien spacecraft now, but like back then, they're unidentified alien spacecraft. We don't know where they're from. They could be Russian. They could be Korean. So no, that's all part of the cover-up. Like, we know they're aliens. I mean, they literally said, and I believe it was the Pentagon talking about a craft that they had captured, and I've done a video on this already. It's in, I can't remember exactly which video it is, but I'll find it and then put it in the link to this description, so you can see where they say this in the article. But they literally say it's not made of this earth. I mean, come on. I mean, what else can make a craft that can travel through space like they do? And according to the actual US Pentagon, this craft is not made on this earth. And they talk about the materials too. They said the materials are found nowhere else on earth in the bigger article. On the actual article, though, they kind of touch on it, and they're like, they said something like, I can't remember the next bit, but yeah, definitely I'll link it in the description so you guys can check it out for yourselves. But yeah, definitely check that shit out because it has the whole article so you can read it for yourself. But yeah, I'll continue with the video.
Area 51, Dan, I mean, we hear stories from Bob Lazar, we hear stories about alternative space program theories, you know, we're building UFOs and reverse engineering UFO technology since the saucers crashed at Roswell and the plains of St. Augustine, and we have reverse engineered that technology today. That's the theory, and NASA is just a smokescreen program. If we really have true anti-gravity technology today, why aren't we using it in our military? Why isn't it evident in the war in Iraq? Why don't we use it to demonstrate superiority on the planet? And if not, if all of this is just conspiracy theory and we really don't have this technology, again, are we willing to take the risk of losing air superiority on this planet by letting the Russians or the Chinese or some other country, even the Middle East, actually engineer this kind of UFO technology and conquer the world? Are we willing to take that chance?
Well, I think, as far as military applications, maybe they are being used already. Maybe we don't know. Maybe they're being used in a surveillance capacity. As far as weapons that could be associated with such vehicles, one would have to think that if the propulsion system is as sophisticated as it would need to be to have these vehicles just hover, stop, noiselessly take off at right angles, do 3 to 5 to 6 to 20,000 miles an hour, one would think that the military application would then take the form of, rather than rockets and projectiles, that probably a particle beam would be used, some kind of a laser, some kind of a disabling beam to disable equipment, to cause disorientation among men and troops. And of course, we have seen no evidence of this. I'm not sure that the U.S. military would want to play that card right now, because after all, the war in Iraq really is a conventional war. We have air superiority there already. There is no Iraqi Air Force. There was no Iraqi Air Force. We, in the United States, we have air superiority basically over the rest of the world. I'm sure there's some pretty hotshot MiG pilots in China and Russia. But I think if you put our Air Force up against any Air Force on this planet, we would prevail without the use of advanced technology of the type we're speaking of. So I think that the U.S., if they have these things, they would probably save them for a more drastic confrontation, perhaps a confrontation with beings that have the potential to be superior over us in terms of the applications of aviation today. So maybe these triangles, the big black deltas, the rectangles, are the next wave of the U.S. military's defense against what some might perceive as an extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional threat. Maybe these weapons or these flight systems now are being prepared to confront a race of superior beings that could have designs on the planet that are malevolent. I think it was Lord Hill Norton, or one of the British Air Force Defense Ministry staff who was assigned to study UFOs in the 50s. After he retired, he said that in his estimation there were 23 different species of being visiting the planet in numerous types of vessels. We know from the NASA UFO studies that you've done, and I think that theory, there's nothing wrong with that theory that I can see that doesn't point to what you postulate, and that is that there are benevolent beings that are trying to heal the planet. Hence the size of these ships that we're seeing in the STS cameras, and the fact that the ozone has holes in it, the fact that water could be a healing element there. What are these lifesaver-shaped little Dropa-stone-shaped ships conveying to our planet? Well, we see them coming into the atmosphere, and on the STS tapes and other forms of exposure, they're not releasing personnel, they're not releasing projectiles, and no harm has come to the planet, through their intervention. So one can assume perhaps that maybe there are benevolent beings out there and malevolent beings out there, and maybe the United States government is preparing weapon systems to deal with the malevolent beings. Ronald Reagan said in a speech, he said, what if there were a species from another planet that was threatening us? We would all find a way to work together. And one can only think about the Star Wars system and the fact that there we had satellite-mounted cannon. Well, they'd be good for shooting down rockets. They also might be good for shooting down other invasive vehicles that are coming into our atmosphere. Ronald Reagan himself spoke about a UFO sighting that he had when he was governor of California in the Beach King Air that they used to use. They were coming from Sacramento. His wife was with him, Sacramento to Los Angeles, and a saucer clocked the plane for a good 45 minutes. And Reagan spoke of it to a lot of people. And I think maybe, part of his motivation in getting the Star Wars weapon system up might have been that to prepare ourselves for the day when other beings might come to this planet with designs of, who knows, taking minerals without authorization, taking people. We're probably just going to have to wait to see.
Okay, guys, as you can see by what he just said there, notice how he said Star Wars system? Notice anything that happened fairly recently within the last couple of years that became a thing called the Space Force? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but Yeah, it seems like there's a bit of a connection there. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget, if you've watched this far, thank you very much. It all helps the watch time and stuff. And also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think on, my particular theories on certain of these things. I mean, I'll probably actually do a whole podcast or something on this video series in the future. It'll be like a live stream. All you viewers and subscribers and stuff can join the live stream. Live stream. But yeah, obviously you'll have to be subscribed to be notified of when that live stream is happening. And also I'll do like a pre-video before the first one happens, just to like announce the time and stuff like that. Probably have some other people on as well, talking about stuff that they know about alien, and we have a whole big conversation stuff, like talk to you guys and stuff, and any of you guys that have had your own sightings and stuff, don't be afraid to let me know in the comments, or if you don't want to talk about it in the comments, just say that you've had a sighting, and then I'll figure out a way to, so you can privately tell me without it being on YouTube, like through Skype or something. But yeah, and then after that, we can figure out where to go from there. So, it'll all be anonymous, for obvious reasons. My channel's already being censored. Anyway, I'd like to thank you all for watching. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button, and there'll probably be about 3 parts to this Dan Aykroyd interview. Yeah, so I look forward to seeing you guys all in the next one, and I'll see you then.